There we go. Now we are officially recording. So today is the 201. Welcome, everyone. I was just recapping what we did in yesterday's 101 session. We used First Draft and Brainstorm. Got some ideas for our LitRPG work. So here's our story, some game mechanics, quest, different things that we worked on. And I started bringing everything over into Braindump inside Story Bible. Well, let's see. We got our protagonist information, we got our gaming world information and the quest. And there's still some information that I want to include here. I want to reiterate something. I know it's pretty obvious, but I think people forget. When we're going through these classes, we're not doing that in depth editing that we would actually be doing in our stories we are publishing. We only have a limited amount of time to teach y'all. If we did every step of our process, we'd be here half the day just to get started with the story. Make sure you go through all of the boxes, all of the output, everything the AI gives you, go through it, change up everything to fit your vision for that story. That's something y'all don't see us do enough of, I know. But again, it's very boring to watch somebody read, think, make some changes. But know that you need to do that. So my brain dump is still have some room, but I have, let's see how many things I have in total. What was my prompt? Okay, so I still want to include all of this. And this was when we asked First Draft for a list of possible races and classes for the game. And then for each combo of them, we asked it for armor and spells and moves that they could use. It gave us a little over 1,000 words. So obviously, I don't have enough room inside BrainDump to do that, but I do want this included. This actually could be something after I generated my outline and everything. Let me look through. And so I could actually put that information here in my brain dump after I've used all of this and created my outline. That's one way to manipulate it. But again, I want everything to flow nice and smooth. So I am going to actually jump over to ChatGPT just to get this started. I cannot use First Draft for this step because we are now limited in the amount of words we can put inside First Draft. It used to be, I don't know what the amount was, but we used to be able to put a great deal in there. Now it's limited somewhere around 650 words or so. In ChatGPT, I am going to tell it, I am writing, let me expand this. Can y'all see that screen good?
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you. I am writing this lit RPG novel. Oh my gosh, I can't type. Taking another drink of coffee.
Somebody posted that ChatGPT is really off the rails today, so
Oh, lovely.
try it and see.
I am just going to copy the story premise. And yes, a lot of this is repeated information, but I want to make sure it has everything. I've told it the genre, given it my story premise. I'm going to copy all of this information from BrainDump. This is our protagonist, some game mechanics, quest, and some magical items and things. Here's some details for the story. Copy that. Oop, wrong thing. But while I have it open, for anybody that didn't get it, let me share this document from yesterday. And I did add a Notion document, our workflows and tips doc, that in case anybody doesn't have it. There you go. And now I want to add in all of these things. Leave that so it knows what it is. All right, so I'm just adding in all those different pieces of information just because I want chat to combine everything so I can fit it all in the brain dump. So I'm going to tell it now. Please wrap all of this information together and remind it for my lit RPG novel. And again, just doing it so I can fit everything into the brain dump. I got my custom instructions on, and it's got the sarcasms that could possibly affect things, but I wouldn't mind sarcasm in the novel either. So something to keep in mind. I know when once we get to like outline or once we get to beats, we're really telling people, hey, use the type of wording that you want, the language that you want, the styles. But honestly, you can start doing that in all of the boxes just so it carries over fluently and everything. So if I want some sarcasm, I can be a jerk here in brain dump. Use that wording that you want. And if you can't figure out how to turn all of this into some sarcastic wording and you want that, go into something like ChatGPT, copy it in there, say, hey, keep all of these details, but word this so everything's sarcastic or witty because I want an AI to follow my style. A lot of times it's very helpful to give that piece of information that you're using this for an AI. Okay. So let's see how many words all of this is. Great. So it knocked everything down to 527. However, let's see. So I am going to need to put the quest elsewhere, but that's no big deal. I'm going to grab a prompt real quick. So this is one of my world building templates, and I'm just going to grab it. Again, I'm just doing all of this to try to get all of my information to fit into BrainDump. And I did not tell it. Please give me a non-JSON output. Any questions on why I'm doing all of this or other options, anything like that? Do y'all have any questions about BrainDump or any of the previous aspects that we've covered already? Let's see what we got. All of our game mechanics, more about the game world. While that's going, I'm going to look at my BrainDump real quick. And the good thing about when I change this, I still have my history button here. So if I know want to grab anything about Marcus, I can just come over to my history, grab whatever I need, or even click down here to restore it if I want. I think I'm going to just combining all this so everything's in a spot. So in this instance, I believe what I'm going to try to do is keep all of my information about Marcus. And then what Chad is giving me should cover more of my world and all of this. So the only other thing I want to keep is the quest. But if I do not have enough room to fit everything into this box, I will focus on keeping Marcus's character, putting in everything chat gives me, and then after I generate my outline, things like that, I can, or at least after I generate my synopsis, I can put all of this information back in that I want. And you can see what a lot of this is. There's not many plot points, which is fine with me because I don't have a lot of plot points for the story. So it has the main premise and then just how the game is going to work. That's mostly what all of this output is, how the game is working and how that's affecting the story. And I don't want all of that. 100 words. All right. Might actually have enough, just shy of having enough room. I'm going to delete this. Now I have enough room. All right. So that is essentially everything that I created for my story so far. So I'm going to jump down to genre. And as you noticed, that brain dump is not really in a good order or anything, but my synopsis should still make sense of everything. Honestly, I don't even know what style I want for this. So we'll go ahead and generate Synopsis. And while that's working, I'm going to use one of my plugins. So if Synopsis is done, I'm going to jump up here and run my plugin real quick. Just because I need some ideas for the style. I like this. I'll put that in genre. And I actually could take this output here and drop it in to match my style to condense it if I wanted to keep everything. I'll do third person limited. And this should be good. For those of you who are new, both the genre box and style box have what we call recency bias. That means the last words in each tend to have more of an impact. So keep that in mind. It sees everything, but these have more of an impact. Also, if you start to run out of room, you've hit that 40-word mark and you just need room for a few more words, you can add hyphens. So you see here I have 29 out of the 40. If I add some hyphens right here, I now have 27 words. So that's a way for you to add in a little bit more. Don't overload it. I have done that before and it didn't make a difference. Sorry, go ahead, Samad.
Could you show the name of that again?
This one is the genre and style. Here, I will do you one better and grab it. And somebody else has one too, similar to it. So you might want to see which one you like better. So I think I have everything that I wanted, at least anything that was important. Again, if I was really writing the story, which I probably will eventually, I'm going to be more specific and more particular about what I add here. All right. I have my synopsis. I have all of this done. And synopsis is your first major stopping point to make edits. So you gave it all that information and brain dump. Now you need to check and see, did it interpret that information correctly? Is everything happening in the correct order? That's very important. Your outline is pulling directly from synopsis. So you need to make sure things are in order here. All right. And I'm just going to glance through just to see if I see anything. Talks about his day and his night. Oh, it brought in my little line that forgot about that. We'll keep it though. So it brought in that rogue's abilities, and it brought in all of those other races and species and the classes and all that. Okay, how they access the game. Very important for a LitRPG. How are the real life people getting into the game world? Brief list of our quests and the items. And now your characters is going to pull from Synopsis. So it has Marcus, that has the rogue. So it should actually give us a character for the rogue. How much room do I have in Synopsis? I have room. I'm going to put a prop because I like my characters done a certain way, formatted a certain way. And that is also a plugin as well. Nicole's character box format with plugin. Go ahead and put it all in here. So I'm putting it in the synopsis box because again, this is affecting the character box and the outline. So I've told it here how I want my characters to be formatted, the different things I want them to have. And then here I'm actually telling it how I want my chapter to be formatted. And we'll go more over this more soon. Let's generate some characters. Like this. It did not give me my line of dialogue, but that's okay. Because in the game world, the characters typically speak the same according to the race or the location. It did not give me my settings, and I have plenty of room, so I'm going to tell it. Keep all of these details, but write a list of settings for this story. Now it's going to rewrite everything that's shaking me those settings. So keep in mind, When you use these rewrite boxes, synopsis, characters, outline, when you use these on top of what it used the first time, that amount of credits plus the credits that it uses to do that rewrite, I get charged both of those. So just because I got rid of that first output doesn't mean I got reimbursed anything. That's why I try to prompt inside other boxes more, so I don't have to use the rewrite. So it gave me my settings. So I'm happy with this. Who is our rogue? Oh, Shadow. The mysterious rogue. I'm just going to throw it in there. I want it to end up being some sort of little, I'm not sure the right word. Tropey isn't the right word, but and I'm going to generate my outline. And again, because I told it in synopsis how I want my outline, so let me cancel this real quick. Outline has to be formatted a certain way, and you see it right here. So if I wanted to bring in my own outline, if I'd done it in chat or on my own, I could insert template right here, and it's going to bring up what I need. You don't have to have all of the other act numbers, but you do have to have Act 1. That's very important. That's what tells the AI, this is where my outline starts. So I need Act 1, and every chapter needs to be chapter number colon. So if you have a prologue, it needs to be chapter 1, colon, prologue, and then your summary for that. So it does not recognize actual prologue. If I were to put that here and come over, it only sees 3 chapters. It only recognizes the numbers. So keep that in mind. Again, this is what you must have. Act 1, the number 1, not a Roman numeral, chapter number colon. Now your summaries, those can be formatted in various ways. I didn't show the outline models. I typically gravitate toward the novel outline. The novel outline takes into account your genre, and then it just gives you the number of chapters that it thinks you need. If you know you want a certain amount of chapters, up here to the genre box, and I could type out 30 chapters or whatever. This does not work as well as it used to, but it should get you at least closer to what you're wanting. Playing around with it with my short stories, I've noticed it does not like to go below 10. No, if I tell it 5 chapters, it doesn't listen to me. Keep in mind, though, if you're asking for a lot of chapters, but you really don't have enough story information, your last chapters are going to be very epilogue sounding. It's just going to be the aftermath of stuff. So be careful with the amount of chapters that you ask for. So you see here how my chapter is formatted. This is just the way I like it. You can let it generate the regular paragraph. There's nothing wrong with that. And some people really load up the box to where each chapter is a very extensive thing. They might have all of the information for the other chapters deleted, and they're just focusing on loading this box up with the details for one chapter at a time. You can have it alternate POVs. Before I generated my outline, I could actually tell it in synopsis, alternate chapter POV between Marcus and the rogue, or Marcus and one of his friends, or something along those lines. That's awesome for romance books, of course. If I forgot about it, I could, of course, do the rewrite outline, alternate each chapter POV between so and I could, instead of this, have it generate just beats. I could tell it generate 10 beats per chapter, 15, 20, however many you want, or just generate beats for each chapter. And then it'll do however many beats it thinks it needs to fulfill it. All of your chapter summaries can be tailored and customized to what you like. If you want them detail heavy, you can do that. If you want them thin, like I like mine, you can do that. If you want beats, do that. And then the good thing about beats is you can just copy those over into the beats box if you like them and expand on those there without generating beats again. This is our chapter outline. Okay, pretty good. I'm going to go back up to my brain dump, and I'm just going to get rid of some things because I know it kept all this stuff about Marcus. I don't know if it kept anything about, I keep the traveling and communication. I don't know if it kept that. This is typical of a LitRPG, so I'm going to delete that. Since my outline is generated, I really don't need any of this. And I now have room for other stuff. So I have 713 So I can put some other things in here. I could keep this as my lore book place. So remember, this does affect your beats. Now, it's not no heavy, Tomas can word this better. It's not a heavy influence. But I know for my Vampire Slayer story, I have my prophecies here in my brain dump, nowhere else. And it typically does a good job. So when it generates beats, this is the best way I can think to explain it. When it generates my beats and it's talking about those prophecies, it's not a heavy enough influence that it's going to bring my prophecies in word for word, but it's also not going to make up a prophecy in that beat. Or if I were to generate prose, it's not going to make something up. It does tend to reference it. So that keeps it from generating a beat saying some random prophecy that I don't want, and then prose is running with that. Instead, it's going to say, he hears this prophecy, and now I can come into brain dump, grab that prophecy real quick, stick it into the beat that I need. So that's a way you can work with brain dump. Does anybody else have some things that they like to do for brain dump? I feel like we don't get enough tips for ways to work with this one. Nobody?
I'll
Well,
put it. Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead, Tomas.
I was just gonna say, if I'm doing a sci-fi thing, this is where I'll list which kind of weapons go for which kind of team, and that because that helps with the thing you were talking about. Whereas it won't make something up. It might not necessarily use that stuff until I say, "Oh, there's a battle," and instead of making up weapons, it'll go and be like, "Oh, this is where we use a coconut grenade," or "This is where we use a snart cannon," or something like that.
Awesome. Thank you. Miss Lynn?
I was just going to mention John's method of recursion, where you put the brain dump in and then generate the synopsis, put the synopsis back into the brain dump, and then generate another synopsis. And sometimes that gives you a more fleshed out synopsis.
Yeah. So that is how I normally do mine too. Synopsis has gotten so much better. So for anybody curious about that method, oh, it's an old video I did. That's from way back when.
It's way, way back there.
That's back when we were doing the roundtable videos. I did that. Okay. So it's this one. Now this is a lengthy video and it is the old format. However, I talk about the brain dump and how I do the brain dump and synopsis right there at the beginning. So once you're done with that, I would actually ignore the rest. I've learned more ways of doing things since then, so I wouldn't bother with the rest of it. But there is that method. So it's not just a matter of watch the video and I'll go into more detail to actually explain it. But so you don't just generate the synopsis and copy that back into brain dump, or actually John might. He's crazy like that. In mine, you'll see I like to rewrite that synopsis so it essentially becomes this whole fleshed out, another 2,000 word brain dump, and then I copy it in. So play with those, see what you like. That's why I love hearing different methods. Okay, I'm just looking for one that has some good action here. Introducing him. So he receives a quest and the road pops up. So let's go with chapter 3 right here, I think. Before I generate, I want to add something in my style because I know I want. Oh, I would like to instruct it to have something with rival characters, but I don't know what that would be. Let's see if it'll take that into account. I'm going to make sure, again, just because that recency bias, that's why you see me put things on different lines. I like to be able to switch things up. So I know it's focusing more on approximately that now. And I'm going to generate chapter 3. So again, if I had generated beats in the outline, I could just copy those here if I wanted to, but I didn't. So I'm going to generate my beats. Oh, one other thing for outline is let me actually pop over and do that too. So I like to put style instructions here or guidance instructions for it to generate beats. So I'm going to tell it have shadow kill solstice when shadow is introduced. Just in case it gets confused and wants to do a real life murder there. All right, so now I'm just going to tell it. So down here it was just introduce shadow. Now I'm telling it, hey, when you introduce shadow, kill solstice, have him kill solstice. We'll see how well it listens. And you can see that is right here. So I'm going to generate some beats from that. But some things I've done for style guidance, if let's say if you're working on thriller, they're interrogating a suspect, I might want it to focus on that interrogation, highlight the suspect's suspicious behavior or reasons that the detective suspects them, all those kinds of things. And yes, that is something you can also do as a beat header. But again, I wanted the beats to focus on those things. So that's why I tell it in the outline. All right, so solstice enters the. All right, so beats have been very thin lately for some reason. They were so good for a while, but now I'm noticing very thin. So with these beats right here, I'm just going to add some space between some of them. So remember, it says each beat's going to do 100 to 200 words. Typically, I find your opening stride, which is the first 2 beats, generates about 400 to 600 words. Pretty easily more along the lines of 600. So when we say your beats are too thin, look at this. Okay, so the character's entering the citadel and basically looking around at the place. That is not a lot of action request for the prose. So that can result in what we call looping right there. Obviously, the best thing to do is if you have a really good idea of how that scene should play out, just start adding those details in. I will put it almost as if I'm actually writing the story. I'm going to say where the character is, what they're doing, things they say, things other characters say, how they react to that character. I lay it all out for the AI. But there are plenty of times when I don't know how I want that scene to play out, especially in an instance like this where I'm teaching a class. I can't make up all these ideas on the spot. So I can just combine some of these and keep combining until I think, okay, this is a good enough beat. Or there are some plugins that we can use. And before I generate with a plugin, I want to show you some things. So we have 15 beats right here. If I come back and add this in, I'm just going to add in 2 of them. So now we should actually have 13 beats. So even though my numbers say 15, because I combined a couple, I scroll down, 13 beats. It doesn't matter that my numbers got out of whack, out of order. It still reads them in order. I could actually get rid of these numbers and it doesn't matter. It's still going to read them as having a number there. What the AI looks at is the carriage returns. After this, that's a carriage return, a hard return. After this one, it looks for those and it knows the next beat is a new beat. I'm actually going to separate these again and then show y'all 2 more ways. There's plugins. I'm going to copy all of these. I have my beats copied because remember, plugins do not work inside the boxes. I'm going to highlight those and I'm going to run my Just Beat It plugin. Now that's the one I like to use. John Creason has a few Beats plugins. Miss Lynn, do you have a Beats plugin?
No, I do not.
Okay. So play around with those various ones, see which one you like better. But this is a way to taking up those beats. Whereas before, our first beat was they enter the citadel, greeted by the grandeur of the castle, enters the citadel, all struck by the imposing. Now I was being a little bit more descriptive. And then I could still turn around and combine these if I want. If I really wanted those thick beats, which I do believe I do. I'm going to copy these. Actually, not yet. I'm going to show y'all one more method. So besides a plugin, because I know some people find them too expensive, my Just Beat It plugin is actually using, let's see how many it used. I think it's 3.5 that it uses. So that Just Beat It plugin right there costs almost 12,000 credits. So that may be too much for you. I know John has some cheap ones. I have a mixed version that is cheap, but still follows the same prompting. Let's just say you don't want to mess with the plugin at all. You can do the rewrite tools, and our rewrite still does not work with boxes. So we can use these laser tools up here. Again, I'm going to copy this, and I could have even copied that plugin output. If I'm really trying for the best beats ever, I would copy that output. Sorry, I don't know why I combined all those. Here I am trying to combine right now. So I can use those laser tools. So now I can say, describe. Because I want more descriptions. for this place. So that laser tool is going to tell me all the things about the site, all those different things that I have selected here. If you don't want these, if I don't want to know what the Citadel tastes, I can turn it off. I tend to just leave them all on. And then I can take whichever ones I like from here and again add it. If I wanted to add this in here, let's see, all these different things. So I can keep doing this until I'm happy. Another one that I really like is to use rewrite. So when I'm using rewrite, I like to use either more descriptive or show not tell. Those are the ones that I tend to lean towards. And then while that's going, let me grab my other. And this is the one that I'm really liking a lot lately. I actually wanted to test this before generating beats and I forgot. All right, so this generated from the show not tell version. Again, I can just copy that over or portions of it if I like. Now I'm back at the original beats and I'm going to highlight them and I'll go to rewrite customize. The customize box holds up to 13 words. So you'll see it gets cut off, but it's no big deal. It still does a good job. And I can click go and it's going to rewrite all of those beats. Source and steps, new tower walls and citadel, greeted with a bustling atmosphere. Can't help but feel. Some more descriptions here with rewrite customize, and it used 527 credits versus my Just Beat It plugin because it takes a lot of boxes into account, used almost 12,000. That rewrite only used just over 500. And it still gave me, I find it's not quite at the level, but it's a really good start. And then let's do one more because now we have Quick Edit and Quick Chat. So these are highlighted. They were highlighted. Why is it not coming up? The box usually comes up. There it is. Thank you. So I can click Quick Edit here. If I don't want to highlight things, but I need to use Quick Edit or Quick Chat, it's Command K for Mac, Control K for PC. So in the Quick Edit, I can just put that rewrite prompt here and click to edit it. I can toggle if I want to do Quick Chat. These are currently not using any credits. However, if I were to toggle on this higher quality one, that will use credits. Keep that in mind. I believe they said, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they said these basic ones use 3.5 and that higher quality one uses 4, GPT-4. All right, so let's compare. So this is what Quick Edit gave us, and this is using the same exact prompt in Rewrite Customize. What do y'all think? Which one y'all think did better? I'm leaning towards Quick Edit. I think it's too on the nose, so there's definitely some wording that needs to be changed, but I think it's a good start.
I feel like Quick
I
Edit's
agree.
a little more purpley than the rewrite.
So you would actually lean towards this one?
Are you still beefing up beats or are you doing prose at this point?
Just working on beats again, just showing them different ways to work with the beats without
Yeah,
relying
so
on
I would
plugin.
just, for me, I would just use the one on the right, the one with less purple prose and beats.
I am going to save this just because this is a regular document, so I don't need to worry about anything. So those are some options for y'all. So y'all aren't stuck with, if you haven't mastered the art of beats, if you have no idea how that scene needs to play out, for whatever reason, you cannot make these beats better on your own. Again, you can just start combining them. I'm just going to combine a couple at a time. So I can just combine them like that. No work whatsoever. No extra credits used. I could highlight them and use my rewrite, show not tell, more descriptive, or that customized prompt. I can use Quick Edit. I can use plugins. Y'all have choices galore in working with the beats until you actually master that enough to feel comfortable with them. Let me just read through this real quick, make sure I think it's not going to loop. I could also add instructions here. It's already going to focus on the descriptions, but I can reinforce that. I can give it instructions here. We can do what is called a beat header. I can tell it right in third person past tense. Make sure you do not tell your beat header to write in one way, but in your style box, you have another way. So if I put first person here, in my style box, I've told third person limited. So that's contradictory. You can see how that could potentially cause issues right there. Make sure all your boxes are in alignment. Looking real quick to see. So I could tell it focus on solstices. Ooh. Now here's a good thing though, a mistake that I just made. Solstice in the game is a female, but in real life he's a male. Right here, another contradiction. I just said he. So it should be she. Let's see. Lots of things to work on there. We'll get to that in the 301. On tomorrow's 301, we're going to focus a lot on the laser tools and perfecting the beats and possibly using Sudowrite and things like that. Oh, and I did also want to try something out, which I think we're going to try out today. Okay, so this is a header. I can check my beats. It's going to have a header here. The thing to remember when you use a header is this first beat has to have a number. It doesn't matter what that number is. I can say number 5. Again, it's still going to read it as number 1 and it still separates. But if I do not have that number here, so the first one that has a number is down here. If I go to check, that's exactly the way it shows up. All of those until it gets to that number 7 that was in the box, and it shows that as my first beat. Keep that in mind if you use beat headers. That first actual beat needs to have a number. That's what separates it. Okay, this is the header. This starts the beats.
In the same way, you have to be careful not to have a number in the header, like where she says, as she accepts, she first quest.
Mm.
If you put in the numeral 1 in there, it may count that as the first beat.
Let's try that out. This is a very good point. Oh, that doesn't work because this one's, let me.
No, so they're at work, but I've done it before where I'll be like, oh, 3 gang members. And as
Yeah.
soon as it reads that 3, it makes it everything after that a beat.
Well, and I'm thinking it's just because there actually is nothing after that. If I were to, let's try it this way. Now I'll put some wording there. So now it's just because I didn't have any actual wording after that number 1. So yeah, Tomas has a very good point. Things to remember about your beats. Do not use pronouns. I did it up here. Believe me, I was chiding myself as I was typing it out. And actually, in the header isn't too bad, but definitely for all of these, don't use pronouns. Honestly, I try not to use pronouns in any of my boxes. If you look at Brain Dump and all of my other boxes, I have characters' names constantly there instead of pronouns. I have very few pronouns throughout my entire project in all of the boxes. And that helps avoid issues with the AI bringing characters in. Do our good old meet cute analogy. Does anybody know what the AI is going to do with this in this beat? Since I said a man leaning against the counter, the AI is going to say, hey, there's a man here. Let me go grab a male character and throw him in. And it might throw in the wrong one. And let's just say your box has all female characters. There's no male character for it to grab. It is now going to make up a character for you because you told it she sees a man. It needs to fill that role. AI wants to be helpful, except unless you're trying to write spicy content. Then no, I'm not helping you do that. But it wants to be helpful. So it's saying, oh, you have this man. Let me find that perfect man for you. So you want to be specific so it doesn't either grab a character you don't want in that scene or make up a character. So you'll put, Sarah walks in, I'll just change it here. So Sarah walks in and sees Michael. And these are some of the things you need to experiment with and learn. So now, knowing the AI like I do, I've been specific. I now told it who is leaning against the counter. But what the AI is going to likely do is all of a sudden have Sarah and Michael start having a conversation, or Sarah's going to have this internal monologue as soon as she sees Michael, things like that. Because the AI needs to do something with this connection. Again, I've told her she sees Michael. Now it's going to help me. Okay, this is what happens when she sees Michael. And if this is the meet cute, because this is the analogy I always like to use, if this is their meet cute, I don't want them talking yet. She doesn't know him, so I don't want her having some inner monologue. I'm going to guide it. Sarah and Michael do not know each other. I will guide it. That would be my beat. Obviously, very thin, so you need to thicken that up. That would be my beat. And this is some extra guidance for it, letting it know they don't know each other, they don't talk to each other. We have our characters here in this. So again, group of marauders, it's likely going to make some characters up for that. Well, let's say in your character box, you actually have a group of people. You've listed them out. You come down here. So let's just say we have all these characters out. This is actually our group of marauders. So I need to then tell it here in the beats box about that group of marauders. So I can say she encounters a group of marauders, and I can use that parentheses. The group of marauders consists of, and I would name those characters out. Conversely, I can just say group of marauders name here. So always be specific, or else the AI is very likely to throw something out there. So do not use pronouns. Do not use vague wording. I always tell people I don't care how many times you have to put the person's name in the sentence. Just do it to save yourself some frustration. And of course, if I had lines of dialogue I wanted to put here, I could put those. When Solstice walks in, says this. When Solstice meets Elder Thane, Solstice says this, or Elder Thane says this. Well, that. Go into clean documents, so I have to keep scrolling down. All right, so I'm going to generate the first 2 strides. When we say strides and beats, this is a beat, this is a beat. Every 2 beats is what we call a stride. So that's going to write a stride, and this is going to be a stride. And I'll generate in most accurate first. And you can pause it as you go. So now it's saying it's finishing up those first 2 beats, that first stride, it's finishing up. I can actually go in here and make edits. And all of those edits I take into account, it reads back up to 250 words. Any edits I take into account, any edits I do here at the end, it's going to take those into account before it continues. Do we have any questions on beats? We are at the top of the hour, and I would like to spend more time helping y'all create better beats. I actually want to do something else today too. I guess tomorrow it'll have to be. I know script plays have come up a lot, asking how to do scripts. So I want to play with the wording on that to see what combination we can come up with for everybody to have the best results. I want to work more on the beat, or talk more about the beats and our models, talk more about laser tools, and hopefully we can have time to dive into our auto write and everything as well. So we can do that tomorrow in our 301. But does anybody have any questions on what we've covered so far? I just realized.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for me, this is a question about my outlining. So we are given 1,700 words, and I am like maybe about halfway through my outline, but I'm at 1,449 words. So I only have about like 250 words left.
Mhm.
Because I've generated like the first 10 chapters pretty much, and I've been working on them, could I delete those out of my outline in order to give myself more text room to keep filling in my outline?
Yes, ma'am. And first of all, I do want to say that coming soon, we won't have to worry about these word limits in the boxes, but we have no timeline on that. But that is a future improvement. But in the
Yeah,
meantime,
sorry, go ahead.
I can delete all of this. I can delete this, keep going through, but you do want to keep these numbers.
Okay.
And that goes back to what we were saying about the numbers over here, like in the beat. If I let's just say I'm working on chapter 11 now, and this is chapter 12. I deleted all my other stuff. When I come over here, it's still only seeing this as chapter 1, so it reads everything in that order. I would
Okay.
just keep those numbers just to avoid some possible confusion, whether it's you forgetting or the AI, something on that. But yeah, you can delete all these words for each chapter. Just leave those chapter numbers and have plenty of room to write here. And I know plenty of people actually only do that. So in their box is only the wording for whatever chapter they are working on.
Okay, excellent. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. And yet another option for those of you who are really struggling with the box limits right now, there are people who only focus like on one act at a time. Starting inside their brain dump, everything in brain dump will just pertain to act 1. Same thing with synopsis. And of course, in synopsis, when you generate it, it's going to try to wrap that up as a story. In brain dump, I could tell it to try to guide it. I could tell it, something along those lines where I keep repeating, hey, the story's not ending. That can help synopsis, but more than likely it's still going to try to wrap it up and do that concluding thing. But that can help. You can work on acts in all of your boxes. Many people love doing that and tying everything in. All right, tomorrow in the 301, we will dive into the models. I want to work on, again, the script thing that people have been asking about, and we will start playing more with tools. Here is an example of the most accurate. So this was our first stride. And so it's this piercing blue eyes. So if I go to my character box, I bet you $100 I have that in their character description. So that's something you want to watch out for. So we'll start breaking this down tomorrow and going over what the different models do better than others. And since I know we're not going to have time to dive into it fully tomorrow, there is a video, a class John Creason and I did right here. If y'all want to actually watch this video right here, we went through every single model here in this list and talked about the pros and cons, and we looked at the cost and everything. We used the same exact stride from a story to run them all, so you can also get a glimpse of what each one did, because I believe we did no style in the box, no style in the style box. So it was very basic. This is what each model did out of the box. Check that out. Alrighty, before I stop the recording, are there any last minute questions? Yes, good point. Remember, they're only reading one chapter at a time. Good point. All right, I am going to stop the recording now. Thank y'all again for hanging out with me, and thank y'all for those who watch later. Bye, everyone.